So, this video is about shading, as I promised. Before we start shading our penguin, I can show you 4 ways of shading in Procreate. I arrange them from most useless to the most often I use. And I will explain the differences and pros and cons. So we have a square and it's filled with yellow color. So we need to shade it to add some shadow or highlight depending on what do we need. So the first method is rather simple. You choose the layer, then use alpha lock and then use any color that you want, and this color won't leave a yellow color. Alpha means transparency. So as you can see, we have a layer with color in it and all the rest is transparent. We can see right through it. When we press alpha lock, which means that we cannot draw on alpha, on a transparent part of a layer. So that's it. It's just limiting our brush, so we don't have to be very precise on this and so on. We can draw it like this. The main disadvantage of this method is that it is on the same layer. And if you want to change something in it, for example, try different color, try different shape, you will have troubles in doing so. Maybe not all, but it's rather complicated and unnecessary. So, the second method is a bit simpler. You create new layer, then choose the selection tool and choose automatic. It will automatically select this shape and you can draw above it with any color. So again, you won't be touching this alpha and you can color above it. In this case, you can change everything about it. For example, move it or change the shape without touching background. We have a very simple background, this yellow square. But if you have something more difficult, for example, leaves, you will have some troubles with it. So, okay, the third method is rather interesting. So we duplicate our background layer, then press on this N. It is a blending option for this layer, and we choose multiply. You see, it is all like in shadow. Then we will choose this eraser tool and delete all unnecessary parts. So it's very fast, and actually with shading is much better for many reasons. So if you don't want to guess what color should the shadow be, you definitely should use this one. Or if, for example, there are some very complicated figures, and that will save you a lot of time. And the fourth method, it is even simpler. We create new layer, made it as a clipping mask, and draw everything we like. Actually with any color as well. So unlike the third method, we can choose any color you want. And as you can see, it can give the borders. So we can drag and drop, we can use Gaussian blur on this, so it is more roundy, not like this straight line, but this gradient shading thingy. Okay, knowing all this, we can return to our penguin. We have him colored, but we need to shade it, because it looks rather flat. We create a layer. I use an eyedropper to pick the layer so it would be matched to our reference. Press this square button and then touch the screen. So we are choosing the layer and start just drawing above it. As you can see, we have some troubles if we do like this, so we won't. That would be very hard to do this way. So, for example, we can do alpha lock and just add some details. It also looks not very good. For example, we can create new layer, put this as a reference, put the alpha lock on it, and then paint on the other layer, so we can correct it later. Or we can do it with multiplying. And you can see if the shadows is softer, but it can leave the area of painting. And when you make a multiplying, you should pick the same color as you want to shading, and it will become darker. So as you can see, there are lots of mistakes with it, and we have to correct it. right? But in the end, it looks much better. So we add some volume to our hand. It's not as flat as this right one, for example. And same goes with the body. So as our jacket is above it, it should drop some shadow on our body. And we can do it with rather crude ways. Not that crude, but okay, we can correct it. So as you can see, we added some space between the body and the jacket. We will just, if you want to save some time, because we have absolutely the same wings, we can just duplicate our wing we want and reflect it vertically. And just rename it. And our second wing is finished. So we are grouping our face and we can add some shadows to it. And again, as you can see, the shading added a volume to it. It's look not flat. And with this highlight on the glasses, it is even more like real one. I'm using this light brush to add these highlights on the sleeve to make it feel like it is a shiny, like metallic one. So to do this, you are placing two contrast things. For example, you're putting white and black together, and it gives this impression of reflection, but it is not just some shadow on the object, but more like a reflection, that it is reflects. And reflecting is the feature of polished metal. So when you put this white and black parts, the object appear to be more metallic. And the same goes with another hand. Again, we could just first finish our first wing and duplicate it to our layer, but we want to add some uniqueness. And as you can see, it's look like these narrow stripes are reflecting. That looks cool, at least much better than just a plain one. I made it here because this color, it also blocks the light and it drops the shadow. Of course, you also should keep in mind where your light is. And in this case, we are preparing for animation and we do not know where the light should be. When we will be animating, there will be additional light, but so far we will put it here like this. Or you can skip this phase for animating purposes. And all these highlights and shadows just in Procreate Dreams, for example. And technically that's it. We have our penguin shaded and ready for animate. So the next video will be about the basics of animation and we will try to animate our penguin. So that's it. Hope you like it and see you next video.